the silence dark, whispers in the midnight park. The night is cold, there's no escape. Ghostly figures take their shape.
Welcome back to Real Talk Horror Edition, where we venture into the shadowy corners of cinema, unraveling films that challenge your perception, provoke your paranoia, and delve deep into the recesses of the human psyche. I'm your host, Josh, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey through the ever-evolving world of psychological horror. In this series, we're not just talking about jump scares or gore. We're diving into the subtle, insidious terror that lingers in your mind. These are the films that get under your skin. They blur the line between reality and illusion, and they leave you questioning everything. Whether it's a slow-burning descent into madness, or a story that forces us to confront the fragility of our own minds, psychological horror is a genre that pushes boundaries in ways few others can. Today, we are continuing part 2 of our series, Paranoia and the Unknown. This segment focuses on films that capture the unease of isolation, the ambiguity of truth, and the fear of the unseen forces that lie just beyond our understanding. These stories remind us that the most terrifying monsters aren't always external. They can be found in the people around us, the systems we live within, or even within ourselves. Our film for today, the 6th entry in this category, is The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, a silent film masterpiece from 1920 that stands as one of the earliest and most influential examples of psychological horror. Directed by Robert Wiene and brought to life by the visionary art direction of Herman Warne, Walter Ryman, and Walter Rohrig, Caligari isn't just a film. It's a visual and narrative revolution. It introduced audiences to the concept of a world warped by the psyche, where jagged landscapes and twisted characters reflect inner turmoil and societal fears. For over a century, this German expressionistic gem has captivated viewers, inspired filmmakers across genres and generations. Its influence can be seen in everything from the nightmarish dream sequences of Hitchcock's Spellbound to the surreal psychological worlds of David Lynch. More than just an early horror film, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari laid the groundwork for how cinema could explore the complexities of the human mind. But what makes this film a cornerstone of psychological horror? Why has it endured as a touchstone for fans and scholars? Today, we'll peel back the layers of this haunting tale, dive into its groundbreaking themes, eerie atmosphere, and the profound questions it poses about sanity, authority, and reality itself. So grab yourself some popcorn and maybe a notebook if you're as nerdy about film as I am, and let's unlock the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Let's start by diving deeper into the themes and psychological elements that make the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari a foundational piece of psychological horror. Dr. Caligari is the enigmatic antagonist. He embodies the very concept of psychological manipulation. His control over Cesar, a somnambulist, essentially a sleepwalker, is both chilling and fascinating. Cesare becomes a tool, stripped of autonomy, and is used to commit Caligari's dark deeds. This dynamic raises profound questions about free will and control. Is Cesare a victim, or is he complicit? And how does this dynamic reflect our own fears about being manipulated by external forces, whether they be societal, political, or personal? The psychological tension is further heightened by the way Caligari's manipulations extend beyond Cesare to the audience itself. By presenting a narrative that constantly shifts and disorients, the film mirrors the experience of being gaslit, where one's perception of reality is called into question. This theme of manipulation ties directly into the larger structure of the story and its shocking twist ending, where even the narrator's perspective is thrown into doubt. Few films capture the disorienting line between perception and reality as effectively as Caligari. The film is narrated by Francis, and from the beginning, the visuals and tone create an otherworldly, dreamlike quality. The angular, distorted sets and unnatural performances feel like they belong to another realm. A deliberate choice by the filmmakers to blur the line between what is real and what is imagined. As viewers, we're left grappling with the same uncertainty as Francis. Can we trust his account of events? Or is the entire story a fabrication born of a fractured mind? This tension between reality and illusion is the heart of psychological horror, as it forces us to question our own perceptions. The unreliable narrator trope, popularized by this film, has since become a cornerstone of the genre. Think of later works like Shutter Island or Black Swan, where the characters' realities unravel before your eyes. Caligari set the standard, making us complicit in the protagonist's mental descent. Francis serves as our guide through the tale of madness, and his arc is a masterclass in psychological storytelling. At first, he seems like a reliable protagonist, driven by a sense of justice as he navigates and investigates the sinister Dr. Caligari and his strange sideshow. But as the story unfolds, cracks begin to appear in his narrative. His obsession with exposing Caligari becomes more than just a quest for truth. It begins to reflect his own unraveling psyche. This progression draws us into his growing paranoia. We're not just observing his descent into madness, we're experiencing it alongside him. His perspective becomes ours, which makes the film's climactic twist that Francis may not be the stable, reliable narrator he seems, all the more devastating. On the other hand, Dr. Caligari himself is a psychologically rich character. Is he a megalomaniacal madman, a symbol of unchecked authority, or something else entirely? The ambiguity of his motivations makes him a compelling and unsettling figure. The titular cabinet is one of the most potent symbols of the film, embodying the fear of the unknown. Its small, confined space holds secrets that drive much of the plot's tension. What lies inside? Who or what controls it? The mystery surrounding the cabinet fuels the unease that permeates the film. But the unknown extends beyond the cabinet. The entire world of Caligari feels alien and uncanny. From the warped sets to the unnaturally angular streets, this distorted reality amplifies the fear of what can't be understood or explained. The unknown in this film isn't just external, it's deeply internal as well. Francis's journey into madness, Cesare's lack of agency, and Caligari's shadowy motives all reflect our own anxieties about what lurks in the depths of the human psyche. What do we fear most? The monster in the cabinet, or the monster within ourselves? By exploring these themes of manipulation, fractured perception, character instability, and the unknown, the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari crafts a psychological horror experience that will linger in your mind, making it not just a film, making it a dissection of the fragile line between sanity and madness. When discussing the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, it's impossible not to focus on its unparalleled mastery of atmosphere and tone, which cement its place as a cornerstone of psychological horror. Every aspect of the film's visual and auditory design works in tandem to immerse us in a surreal, nightmarish world. The hallmark of Dr. Caligari is its pioneering use of German expressionist visuals, which were groundbreaking at the time and remain iconic today. The film sets are anything but naturalistic. Jagged, distorted architecture bends reality, with buildings leaning precariously, streets narrowing into impossible angles, and windows shaped like jagged shards of glass. This surreal design does more than just catch the eye. It externalizes the character's mental states, particularly the protagonist Francis. The sharp contrast between light and shadow further heighten the tension as darkness looms menacingly in every corner, often swallowing characters whole. The painted shadows on the sets blur the line between reality and illusion, and they force us to question what's real and what's imagined, a perfect visual metaphor for the film's psychological themes. Adding to this, the cinematography employs static shots and unconventional framing to make us feel trapped, mirroring the claustrophobic unease experienced by the characters. The world of Caligari feels alive, oppressive, and utterly alien, pulling us into a waking nightmare. Although The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is a silent film, music plays an integral role in shaping its atmosphere. Historically, silent films were accompanied by live scores, and Caligari has been paired with various compositions over the decades. Whether it's an original score from the 1920s or a modern interpretation, the music is crucial to maintaining the film's psychological tension. Dissonant melodies dominate much of the score, using abrupt, jarring chords to reflect the chaos of the narrative. Crescendos erupt at moments of heightened tension, amplifying the sense of dread. In quieter scenes, the music often shifts to slower, melancholic tones, allowing unease to simmer rather than boil over. This ebb and flow of the score mirrors the protagonist's unraveling psyche, creating an emotional rhythm that keeps us on edge. There are modern screenings that sometimes feature experimental soundtracks, blending electronic or orchestral elements to create an entirely new layer of psychological horror. These interpretations only serve to emphasize the timelessness of Caligari's eerie atmosphere. The setting is as much a character as the people in the story. The film's world is entirely fabricated, with no attempt to mimic reality. Every crooked street, tilted house, and jagged tree appears to emerge from the mind of someone unhinged. This warped environment perfectly reflects the film's themes of madness and paranoia, drawing us into a reality that feels as unreliable as its narrator. The oppressive design of the sets also plays a crucial role in establishing tone. There is no escape from the labyrinthine streets or the looming presence of Dr. Caligari's circus-like tent. Even outdoor scenes feel claustrophobic, as though the world is closing in on the characters. This creates a constant tension. No matter where the characters go, the environment itself feels antagonistic, as if conspiring against them. It's also worth noting that the interplay between the setting and the characters, the distorted world, mirrors the fractured minds of Francis and Caligari, blurring the boundary between external and internal chaos. This makes the setting not just a backdrop, but a psychological tool, heightening our discomfort and disorientation. In summary, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari masterfully uses its visual style, the sound design, and setting to create an atmosphere of psychological dread that is both immersive and deeply unsettling. Its German expressionist roots lend it an otherworldly quality, while the music and claustrophobic environment ensure that the tension never dissipates. Together, these elements form a hauntingly effective atmosphere, and that has left an indelible mark on the horror genre. Francis is our guide into the bizarre and unnerving world of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, but his reliability as a narrator is central to the psychological complexity of the story. At first glance, Francis seems to be the hero, a man on a mission to expose the nefarious Dr. Caligari. His determination to uncover the truth feels heroic, even noble, as he seeks justice for his murdered friend and protection for his beloved Jane. However, as the story unfolds, cracks begin to form in Francis's narrative. His perception of events grows increasingly erratic, with key details feeling more like fragments of a fever dream than an objective account. The film's twist ending forces us to question whether Francis is the victim of Caligari's schemes, or if his mind has fabricated the entire ordeal. This ambiguity is the linchpin of the film's psychological horror, pulling us into Francis's fractured psyche, making us question Francis's version of reality. The film effectively turns us into co-participants in his paranoia. Francis represents the quintessential psychological horror protagonist, one whose inner turmoil becomes the central source of fear. His descent into obsession not only propels the plot, but challenges us to consider how fragile our own grasp on reality might be under similar circumstances. Dr. Caligari is a villain shrouded in mystery and menace, and it's this ambiguity that makes him so unsettling. Is he simply a mad scientist conducting unethical experiments? A manipulative charlatan exploiting the vulnerable? Or could he represent something even more sinister? A metaphorical stand-in for unchecked authority or the darker impulses of the human psyche? Caligari's psychological dominance over Cesare is one of the film's most disturbing aspects. He wields power, not through brute force, but through manipulation and control, turning Cesare into a puppet to enact his will. This dynamic underscores the theme of losing agency, as Cesare is stripped of his humanity and reduced to an instrument of terror. Yet, Caligari is more than just a character. He is the embodiment of fear itself. The fear of losing control, of succumbing to authority, and of being trapped in a world where nothing is as it seems. His enigmatic presence lingers, leaving us grappling with the unsettling questions he raises about power and manipulation. Cesare the Somnambulist is one of the most haunting figures in cinematic history. As a victim of Caligari's control, Cesare becomes both a source of terror and a figure of immense pathos. His blank stares, lethargic movements, and otherworldly appearance create an eerie sense of unease, but they also evoke sympathy. Cesare is a man trapped in a waking nightmare, robbed of his free will, and used as a tool for murder. This duality makes Cesare a deeply compelling character. On one hand, he is the quintessential monster of the story, lurking in the shadows and striking fear into the hearts of the townsfolk. On the other hand, he is as much a victim as those he harms, manipulated by Caligari's sinister influence. His moments of rebellion, however brief, offer a glimpse of the humanity still buried within him, making his ultimate fate all the more tragic. Jane, the love interest, serves as both a catalyst for Francis's actions and a symbol of innocence under threat. While her role may seem secondary at first, her vulnerability and inventional entanglement with Cesare amplify the stakes of the narrative. She's the emotional anchor for Francis, and her presence underscores the film's exploration of how personal relationships can both be a source of strength and a potential weakness in the face of psychological manipulation. Even the minor characters, such as the townsfolk, who oscillate between suspicion and fear, play a vital role in creating the film's pervasive atmosphere of paranoia. Their reactions to Caligari and Cesare mirror the audience's own uncertainty, heightening the tension as the story progresses. The characters in the film are not merely participants in the plot. They are the living embodiments of the film's psychological themes. Francis's unraveling mind, Caligari's sinister ambiguity, and Cesare's tragic existence all converge to create a narrative that is as much about the fragility of the human psyche as it is about the horror of external threats. Together, they make this silent era masterpiece an enduring study of psychological horror. So let's dive deeper into the rich symbolism and subtext of the cabinet of Dr. Caligari, where every crooked shadow and twisted frame carries meaning beyond the surface narrative. The film's distorted sets and unnatural perspectives are among the most striking features. Walls tilt at impossible angles, windows and doors are misshapen, and shadows seem alive, painted onto the scenery with jagged precision. These visual elements serve as a powerful metaphor for the instability of the characters' minds, particularly Francis's. As the narrator, Francis takes us through the story that unfolds in a world that feels as unbalanced as his own psyche. The warped aesthetics don't just symbolize Francis's mental state, they also evoke the larger chaos of a society grappling with uncertainty. The lack of symmetry and unnatural order mirrors the psychological and societal disorientation of post-war Europe. Viewers are thrust into a dreamlike space where the line between reality and illusion blurs, and inviting us to question whether the events we witness are grounded in truth or constructed by Francis's unreliable mind. At its heart, the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari explores power dynamics and psychological manipulation. Dr. Caligari himself is an archetype of authoritarian control, representing figures who exploit fear and submission to dominate others. His control over Cesare, the somnambulist, speaks to the chilling theme, the loss of autonomy. Cesare is not just a man under hypnosis. He is a metaphor for individuals stripped of their agency, reduced to mere tools in the hands of those who wield power. Cesare's plight can also be interpreted as a reflection of societal anxieties about conformity and obedience, themes that would resonate deeply in an era grappling with the scars of World War I. Soldiers returning from the front lines often spoke of feeling like pawns in a greater game, forced to act without question under the orders of unseen leaders. Cesare embodies this fear of being dehumanized, a hollow vessel carrying out someone else's will. Even Francis is a pawn in a larger psychological game. His narrative is shaped by his perspective, but as the film progresses, he realizes that he may not be in control he believes he has. This loss of clarity and agency is central to the film's psychological horror. The timing of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari's release is crucial to understanding its broader cultural subtext. Premiering in 1920, just 2 years after the end of World War I, the film reflects the collective trauma of a world emerging from unprecedented conflict. The war left a mark on the human psyche, and Caligari channels that fractured emotional landscape through its narrative and visuals. The film can be seen as a critique of authoritarianism, a theme that would grow even more relevant in the decades to follow. Dr. Caligari's manipulative control over Cesare echoes the fears of unchecked authority, whether in the form of despotic rulers, corrupt systems, or the war machine itself. The idea of blindly following orders, represented by Cesare's robotic obedience, feels like a direct commentary on the dehumanizing effects of wartime leadership and bureaucracy. At a deeper level, Caligari explores the fragility of the human psyche when exposed to sustained trauma. The film's world is one where trust is eroded, reality is unstable, and fear pervades every corner, a perfect encapsulation of the post-war zeitgeist. The ambiguity of the ending, where we're left to question Francis's sanity, and the truth of the story mirrors the uncertainty of a generation grappling with the aftermath of upheaval. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is more than just a psychological horror film. It is a rich tapestry of visual and thematic symbolism, from its warped sets that reflect mental instability, to its characters who symbolize authoritarianism and lost autonomy. The film weaves a narrative as layered as it is jagged shadowed. Its post-war cultural commentary gives a timeless resonance, making it not only a cornerstone of psychological horror, but also a profound reflection of human vulnerability in the face of chaos. This depth is a significant part of what makes Caligari such an enduring masterpiece. The pacing of Dr. Caligari is deliberate, almost hypnotic, as it draws us deeper into the surreal world. Unlike modern horror films that often rely on fast-paced action and jump scares, Caligari builds its tension through slow accumulation of unease. Each scene meticulously constructed, with the film's eerie visuals and cryptic dialogue cards creating a sense of dread that lingers and grows. The narrative doesn't rush to reveal its secrets. Instead, it invites us to immerse ourselves in the disorienting world. This slow burn approach is particularly effective in psychological horror, where the fear often comes from the unseen or the unknown. By pacing itself deliberately, the film gives us time to absorb the unsettling atmosphere, question the characters' motives, and feel the weight of the unfolding mystery. However, the deliberate pacing does not mean that the film lacks momentum. Key scenes such as Cesari's chilling emergence from the cabinet or the climactic confrontation with Dr. Caligari are infused with a kinetic energy that contrasts sharply with the slower, dreamlike sequences. These moments serve as punctuation, jolting us higher into the psychological impact. One of the most remarkable aspects is how it uses plot twists to upend our perception of the story. The film's structure is deceptively simple at first, a classic tale of good versus evil, with Francis as the heroic investigator and Dr. Caligari as the villainous mastermind. But as the layers peel back, it becomes clear that nothing is as it seems. The film plants subtle clues throughout, encouraging us to question the reliability of the narrator and the truth of the events depicted. Each revelation feels both surprising and inevitable, a hallmark of masterful storytelling. These twists don't just shock for the sake of shock. They force us to reconsider everything we've seen, blurring the lines between reality and illusion. The twist ending in particular is a game changer. Without revealing spoilers, it completely redefines the narrative, casting doubt on Francis' perspective and the nature of the events he describes. This moment is not just a clever narrative trick, but a profound exploration of the fragility of the human mind. It leaves us grappling with questions about sanity, authority, and the nature of truth. The conclusion of the film is deliberately ambiguous, a choice that enhances its psychological impact. Rather than tying up the story in a neat bow, the film leaves us with more questions than answers. Who can we trust? What is real? The open-endedness of the finale mirrors the disorienting nature of the film as a whole, reinforcing its themes of uncertainty and paranoia. This ambiguity is a defining characteristic of psychological horror. It challenges us to engage with the film on a deeper level, interpreting its events and themes for ourselves. The lack of clear resolution is unsettling, but that's precisely the point. By refusing to provide easy answers, Caligari will stay with us long after the credits roll, haunting our thoughts and sparking endless debates. In many ways, the film's ending is a perfect encapsulation of its psychological horror. It's not about the fear of what's seen, but the fear of what's left unresolved. This lingering uncertainty is what makes the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari such a timeless and influential masterpiece. Its pacing and plot structure work in harmony to create a narrative experience that's as disorienting as it is unforgettable. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is often regarded as the genesis of psychological horror, paving the way for films that delve into the labyrinth of the human mind. Before this, horror was primarily about external threats, monsters, ghosts, or physical danger. Caligari shifted the focus inward, exploring the terror of the mind's fragility, paranoia, and instability. Its innovative storytelling, including the use of an unreliable narrator and a shocking twist ending, had become a staple in psychological horror since. This approach influenced not only the genre itself, but cinema more broadly. From the shadow-drenched noir films of the 40s to the mind-bending psychological thrillers of the modern era, such as The Sixth Sense and Shutter Island. It also established key elements of horror cinematography: distorted sets, exaggerated shadows, and surreal visuals that symbolize internal turmoil. These techniques directly inspired other classics of the genre, including 1922's Nosferatu, or later films like Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 masterpiece Psycho and Roman Polanski's 1965 film Repulsion. Even directors like Tim Burton have drawn from its eerie, off-kilter aesthetic, which remains a blueprint for portraying madness and the uncanny on screen. When it premiered in 1920, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari was a groundbreaking cinematic experience. Audiences and critics were captivated by its avant-garde style, haunting narrative, and radical departure from conventional storytelling. At a time when film was still a fledgling medium, Caligari proved that cinema could be more than just entertainment. It could be an art form capable of exploring profound psychological and philosophical ideas. Over the decades, its reputation has only grown. Today, it is studied in film schools worldwide as a cornerstone of cinematic history and remains an essential viewing for anyone interested in the evolution of horror. Its blend of artistic innovation and thematic depth ensures its relevance, even a century after its release. While The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is celebrated by mainstream historians and critics, it has also achieved a distinct cult status among cinephiles and horror enthusiasts. The film's surreal visuals, enigmatic characters, and ambiguous ending have inspired endless interpretation and analysis, creating a lasting fascination. Fans often celebrate its legacy through retrospectives, art exhibitions, and homage in other media, from comic books to experimental theater. Moreover, the film resonates with those drawn to the macabre and the unconventional. Its expressionist aesthetic and exploration of the darker corners of the human psyche appeal to audiences who seek more than surface-level scares. It's a film that rewards repeat viewings, offering new layers of meaning with each and every revisit. Beyond its impact on horror, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is a quintessential example of German expressionism, an art movement that sought to externalize internal states of emotion and thought through exaggerated, distorted visuals. This movement emerged in post-World War I Germany, a nation grappling with societal upheaval and psychological scars. The film's depictions of madness, manipulation, and existential dread reflected the anxieties of the time and struck a chord with audiences. Today, its influence extends beyond film into other artistic disciplines. Visual artists, theater directors, and even musicians have drawn inspiration from its bold, angular sets and moody atmosphere. It's not just a film, it's a cultural artifact that continues to inspire creativity across multiple mediums. In short, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari remains a cornerstone of cinematic history, a trailblazer for psychological horror, and a timeless exploration of the human condition. Its enduring legacy is a testament to the power of film to push boundaries, challenge perceptions, and provoke thought. It's not just a movie, it's a haunting, unforgettable experience that will continue to captivate and inspire. When we talk about the history of horror, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari stands as a monumental cornerstone, a film that defined and continues to redefine what psychological horror can achieve. Over a century after its release, its haunting visuals, complex narrative, and the sheer audacity of its themes remain unparalleled. Watching this film is like stepping into a fever dream, one where every detail serves to disorient, disturb, and ultimately immerse you in the story's surreal and sinister world. One of the film's greatest strengths lies in its innovative visual style. The German expressionist sets are practically characters in their own right, with jagged edges, leaning walls, and twisted perspectives that visually echo the mental instability of the characters. This isn't just a backdrop, it's a psychological mirror, reflecting the warped reality of its protagonists, and by extension, us in the audience. No other film of its time dared to create such an intentionally unreal environment, and this bold choice pays off in spades, establishing an oppressive atmosphere that heightens the story's tension. The psychological themes are equally compelling. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari delves into the fragility of the human mind, exploring manipulation, control, and the inability to distinguish reality from delusion. These themes resonate deeply, not only as a product of post-World War I anxieties, but also as universal fears that remain relevant today. Few films manage to intertwine narrative and psychological depth so seamlessly, making Caligari a true trailblazer in the genre. However, no film is without its weaknesses, and for modern audiences, Caligari's silent film format can be a hurdle. The lack of dialogue as we know it, reliance on intertitles and exaggerated performances, though revolutionary in their time, can feel alien to viewers accustomed to today's cinematic norms. Yet, I would argue that this format is part of the film's charm. Its silence allows the visuals and score to take center stage, creating an experience that is as much about mood and tone as it is about plot. For me, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is a perfect film, earning a solid 10 out of 10. It excels not just as a piece of cinema, but as a work of art that challenges and subverts expectations. It's a film that stays with you, inviting you to revisit its layered narrative and unearth new interpretations each time. So who is this film for? If you're a fan of surreal, atmospheric horror, films like Eraserhead or The Lighthouse, then Caligari is an essential watch. It's a film for those who appreciate the blending of art and storytelling, for those who love narratives that challenge their perception of reality, and for anyone interested in the roots of psychological horror. That said, even if you're skeptical of silent films, I encourage you to give The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari a chance. Its influence is far-reaching, touching everything from Alfred Hitchcock's psychological thrillers to the unsettling visuals of Tim Burton. Understanding Caligari is to understand the DNA of modern horror cinema. To sum it up, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is more than a film. It's a haunting experience, a psychological puzzle, and a masterclass in the art of horror. A century later, it's still teaching us what it means to be truly afraid. If you've never seen it, make this your next movie night. Trust me, you won't forget it. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk Horror Edition. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and that you now have a fresh appreciation for how this early masterpiece paved the way for psychological horror as we know it today. If you liked what you heard, there are a few ways you can help us out and keep the conversation going. First off, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. We've got a lot more chilling films to cover in this series, and I want you to be right there with us every step of the way. And while you're at it, take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback helps us grow and lets other horror fans know about the podcast. Reviews also let us know what works for you. So don't be shy, share your thoughts. You can also rate the show, and if you're feeling extra generous, give us that 5-star rating. I'd love for you to join the conversation on social media as well. Over at Real Talk on both Instagram and Threads. Whether you're a lifelong horror fan or just someone starting to explore the genre, I want to hear from you. What did you think of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari? What other psychological horror films have stuck with you? Drop your thoughts in the comments, tag us on Instagram or Threads. Let's talk about all things creepy, mysterious, and mind-bending. While you're out there on social media, make sure to follow us for updates on future episodes. We've got a lot of exciting content lined up and you won't want to miss it. Plus, I love hearing from listeners. So if you've got a favorite psychological horror flick you want us to cover, let me know. Who knows, your suggestion may be our next film. Now, a quick sneak peek at what's coming up next. Our next episode, we're wrapping up Part 2, Paranoia and the Unknown, with a deep dive into David Fincher's 1995 horror thriller, Seven. This film is a chilling exploration of sin, morality, and human depravity. And I can't wait to dissect its dark and twisted world with you. If you haven't seen it in a while, or if you've never seen it, now's the perfect time to revisit it before we get into all the psychological layers. Until then, take care, stay safe, and remember, there's a lot more out there in the shadows than you might think. Stay spooky, everyone.
Creeping through the silence dark, whispers in the midnight park. The night is cold, there's no escape. Ghostly figures take their shape. Shadows play a twisted game. Fear and terror stake their claim. Footsteps follow close behind. Haunting thoughts invade your mind. Run away, but they won't go. In the darkness, fear will grow. Midnight shadows come to play. In your dreams, they'll always stay. Windows rattle, doors they creak. Ghostly whispers start to speak. Every corner hides a fear. Close your eyes, they're drawing near. Candles flicker, spirits call. In the night they'll take it all. Midnight strikes, the clocks rewind. Nightmares now are intertwined. They'll wait, but they won't go. In the darkness, fear will glow. Midnight shadows come to play. In your dreams, they'll